Alright, continuing the experiments of Twilight Sparkle. Once again, I'm going to apologize for not really being able to voice act, or me sounding just kind of really not into it, because I am into it, like, oh my goodness. If you saw the last part, but I mean, I'm really not feeling all that great right now, and my voice is starting to go out from reading, and it's really cold, so that in my brain is killing me. No pun really intended. But anyways, I'm going to stop complaining and I'm going to go ahead and do this. Author's note. A harsh scene, much different from cupcakes. Oh jeez, here we go again. And chapter 4, Apple Buckin'. It's AJ's turn. And this means my accent is going to be terrible this whole thing. The ponies felt empty, like their friendship was incomplete. Since the element of laughter was gone, broke the somber silence. Now you all know the process of dying via suffocation, even better than before. Although no one here knows it like Pinkie Pie did. So much rage was directed toward the mare murderer. Rarity expressed her fury. If I had my horn, you... She bitterly wept. AJ spoke. If we ever get out of this... She swallowed. You're no longer our friend. Rainbow Dash was in a state of extreme trauma. Dead. Dead. She was shaking and crying. Twilight found something that amused her. Aw, Fluttershy's still out cold. I'll have to fill her in on what she missed. Huh! Applejack noticed Twilight's sudden personality change. How in the hay can you laugh about this? Oh, AJ. Twilight took off her surgical mask to reveal an impossibly wide, demented, clown-like smile. Let me show you why I laugh. Oh, geez. Twilight pressed her face against Applejack's chest, breathing heavily into it. Such beautiful, powerful muscles. Oh, I must know more of them. Moving herself away from AJ, she brought many sharp-ended, needle-sized rods of various lengths, with small bulbs on their tops, to the farm horse. With her glowing horn, she inserted rods of specific lengths into specific areas in AJ's body, with specific angles with great precision. So many inserted rods were covering the orange pony. She didn't bleed a lot, though. Because the tips of the rods were extremely sharp, Wait. I thought they were rounded. Okay. The twisted scientist sat behind the panel of buttons. She magically uncuffed Applejack. AJ fell to the floor, then stood up in disbelief. Was she free? Thoughts were racing through her head of what move she should make. She quickly tried to set her friends free. Everyone was grateful for another chance of getting out of this living hell. She tried opening the cuffs. It did not work. She attempted to pull them out of the cuffs, but they were too firmly held in place. She lunged at Twilight. Set them free, or you will rue... AJ suddenly lost control of her body. She felt like the bulbs on the needles in her were sending jolts of electricity through her muscles. Then she noticed Twilight's horn radiating light, causing a lot of buttons and dials to be pushed and turned on the central board. Twilight gave a confirmation. Yep. I now control almost every muscle in your body responsible for voluntary movement. Rainbow and Rarity feared for their friend. What did Twilight have in store for Applejack? Ha 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 ho ha ha ha. Now do you see the funny side? Twilight said as she forced a smile on Applejack's face. Twilight's mouth then retained its usual form. Oh, I'm only fooling around with you. Anyways, enough tomfoolery. Let's move on to lesson 2. Twilight had her puppet walk into a back room. AJ tried to fight it, but it was futile. She was pushing a heavy bulk of machinery back into the main room. It had a square metal platform with a pole shooting straight up from one of its sides, supporting an identical square metal platform lined up precisely, and straight above the bottom metal plate. And there was a meter measuring weight in newtons at the very top of the pole. Twilight took a small controller that was connected to the bottom of the pole via an electric cord. Twilight had Applejack stand on her two hind legs in the square platform with the other platform above her and elaborated. Our next test subject is Applejack, who has apples for a cutie mark. That signifies that she, as a farmer, grows, bucks, and sometimes cooks and sells apples. She must be rather physically strong, but how strong? What is her limit? Well, using this device on my hooves, I will have the top platform pushed down on Applejack with a force equivalent to the weight of an object with a certain mass. The mass will be measured in kilograms, and the weight will be measured in newtons, which is mass in kilograms, times the acceleration of gravity, which is 9.8 meters per second, and the meter at the top of the pole will show the force of the simulated weight in newtons pressing against AJ's body. It's AJ's job to hold up the platform. Our goal here is to find out how much weight she can lift before she breaks. As I add to the force little by little, newton by newton, let's start with, say, 300 newtons. And here we go. Oh, one question, AJ. Do you still think of a friend? Answer honestly. Oh, that's a jerk move. I don't owe you any answer, replied the orange pigtailed pony. Applejack, answer me and I'll set you free. I don't know. Thank you for your truthful answer, element of honesty. I, however, am not that element. I am not going to set you free. Oh, God. I figured that. So I just had this image of GLaDOS as Twilight, because that sounds like something she would say. Suddenly, AJ felt her mouth and tongue move against her will. Of course I'm your I can't read. Of course I'm your pal, Twi. I'm so grateful we're doing this together, but I do hate these 3 other losers. Rainbow and Rarity did not expect to hear this from Applejack. Twilight informed them, "Oh, don't worry, she still loves you all dearly. I made her say that with these rods. I'm just having some fun, tee-hee." She pushed a button and turned a dial on the control device in her hoof. The top plate was pushing down on the reluctant pony. All Rainbow Dash and Rarity could do was watch in dread. Their hearts were racing. They did not want to lose another chance to break free from this nightmare. "Don't let that jerk control you. Show her who's boss." Rainbow Dash cheered AJ on. "We know you can fight it," Rarity said, trying to boost enough confidence into the struggling pony. AJ was trying her best to move away from under the square metal plate, but the bioelectricity from the rods were too strong. She had no choice but to have Twilight force her to push on the platform. 300 newtons were no problem. "Very good. You're stronger than I thought," the experimenter mocked. She turned the dial, and the meter at the top read 445 newtons. More! Twilight turned the knob, and the meter went up to 574. It was now getting a bit hard to hold up. "Add a little more and you count to 4, Twilight happily sang. "Remember that? Oh, that Pinkie Pie." Twilight turned the dial. 671 newtons. Applejack was getting sore. She turned the dial continuously without stopping, but at a very slow pace. The arrow on the meter moved past the 712 mark. Then the 756 newton and 801 newton marks. As it hit 885 newton mark, Applejack's muscles were incredibly sore. Very, very tired and in such pain she wanted to just lie down on the floor and rest so badly, but that wasn't going to happen. After seeing the amount of force she had to go against, Applejack's friends doubted that she could leave the platform or even survive. Were they about to lose another loved one? They didn't believe it. In just one night, their lives were turned completely upside down. Their Pinkie Pie tortured and killed, and now Applejack was on the verge of dying. Everything that they thought that they knew about their friendship with Twilight was washed down the drain. Just a few hours ago, they considered the Purple Unicorn as one of their closest, dearest friends, and now they were sad with her, angry with her, and afraid of her. 934 newtons, 975 newtons. She didn't know how much more she could take. The force was pushing her to the very limit. 1,023 newtons, 1,080 newtons. She felt she could not handle any more. 1,103, 1,134, 1,183. She heard and felt her bones and spine crack. Ow. The others could not stand to watch, and yet they could not turn their heads. Their eyes were filled with terror as they watched with horrible anticipation of what was about to happen. Twilight wrote down on a scroll the weight at which Applejack's skeleton started to break. Then she kept going. 1,201, 1,245, 1,289. Applejack was hurting greatly as her bones further broke under such pressure. It was as if she was having an enormous backache of immense pain that was progressively worsening. Oh, I hate that feeling. Except I've never had my spine crack. Twi turned the knob a little further until it reached 1,339, and snap! Applejack's back broke in two. Her fellow captives cringed and screamed at the sight. Oh, how they screamed. She fell to the floor only to have the top plate smash into her face and break her nose. Her screams of pain were muffled by the crushing of metal surface. Her skull bone, as well as her rib cage, were cracked in several areas. The unicorn wrote down the force at which her spine broke into 1,339 newtons, and done. I wonder. She continued to increase the simulated weight. The pressure was so extreme that the orange earth pony's ribs shattered into a dozen pieces. The fragments punctured her lungs. She could no longer scream. She could only sound a muffled cry. You should be very proud of yourself, Applejack. Applejack could barely hear the scientist speak. You contributed your life to science. I know I'm proud of you. There was massive internal bleeding, and all she could think about was the pain, until her skull fractured into about 12 sharp pieces and cut through her brain. Her life functions faded. She shared the same fate as Pinkie Pie. Death. Oh, this is a long one. I think I will actually stop it here since this next one is really long and I don't want like a 30-minute part. So I'll see you guys in the next part. See ya.